Introduction. Where agency meets the law. As we continue building our understanding of agency, it is critical to recognize that agency is not just a business practice, it is a legal framework governed by Arizona statutes, administrative rules, and case law. Everything you do as a commercial real estate professional is measured against these standards. The difference between a smooth transaction and a disciplinary complaint often comes down to whether you followed the law, documented your actions, and properly advised your client. Arizona has strengthened its regulatory expectations through updated rules and enforcement policies, making it more important than ever to understand how agency is defined and enforced under the law. This section connects what you have already learned about agency relationships to the legal authority that governs your actions. ACR 4-28-1101, Duties to Clients and Professional Conduct. The cornerstone of agency law in Arizona is ACR 4-28-1101, which outlines the duties a licensee owes to their client. This rule requires that a licensee protect and promote the client's interests while also dealing fairly with all other parties in the transaction. This balance is critical in commercial real estate, where negotiations can be complex and involve multiple stakeholders. The rule also reinforces fiduciary duties such as disclosure of material facts, confidentiality, and reasonable care. For example, if you are representing a buyer in a commercial acquisition and you discover discrepancies in the property's financial statements, you have a duty to disclose that information to your client. Failing to do so is not just a mistake, it is a violation of professional conduct. This rule serves as the foundation for how you operate in every transaction, regardless of whether you are representing a landlord, tenant, buyer, or seller. ACR 4-28-1103, Broker Supervision and Compliance. While individual agents have duties, the designated broker carries the responsibility of ensuring that those duties are followed. Under ACR 4-28-1103, brokers are required to exercise reasonable supervision and control over all real estate activities conducted by their licensees. This includes establishing policies, reviewing transactions, and ensuring compliance with agency and disclosure requirements. In commercial real estate, where transactions can be more complex, this supervision becomes even more critical. For example, a broker must ensure that agency disclosures are properly completed, that compensation agreements are documented, and that all required forms are maintained in the transaction file. The updated expectations around supervision also tie into the requirement for brokerages to implement progressive disciplinary policies, reinforcing accountability at every level. This means that agency violations are not just individual issues, they are brokerage-wide compliance concerns. ARS Section 32 to 2153, grounds for discipline. Understanding what can go wrong is just as important as understanding what to do right. ARS Section 32 to 2153 outlines the grounds for disciplinary action by the Arizona Department of Real Estate. This statute includes violations such as misrepresentation, failure to disclose material facts, dishonest dealings, and negligence. In commercial real estate, these violations often arise from misunderstandings about agency roles or failure to properly communicate with clients. For example, if an agent exaggerates the income potential of a commercial property or fails to disclose known issues with a lease, this could be considered misrepresentation. The consequences can include fines, license suspension, or revocation. This statute serves as a reminder that agency is not just about relationships, it is about accountability and legal responsibility. Case law, how courts interpret agency duties while statutes and rules provide the framework. Case law shows how those rules are applied in real-world situations. In Jennings v. Lee, 1969, the court emphasized the fiduciary duty of agents to act in the best interest of their clients, reinforcing the importance of disclosure and loyalty. In Hill v. Jones, 1986, the court held that sellers and their agents must disclose material facts that are not readily observable. These cases are frequently cited because they illustrate how failure to meet agency obligations can lead to legal liability. In commercial real estate, These principles extend to issues such as undisclosed tenant defaults, inaccurate financial reporting, or environmental concerns. Courts consistently hold agents to a high standard, regardless of whether the transaction is residential or commercial. This means that your actions will be judged not only by the rules, but also by how those rules have been interpreted over time. Modern enforcement. The 2025 to 2026 regulatory shift recent updates to Arizona real estate regulations have placed a stronger emphasis on compliance, documentation, and broker oversight. The ADR's updated enforcement approach reflects a shift toward proactive regulation, where brokers are expected to have systems in place to prevent violations before they occur. This includes clear policies on agency disclosure, transaction documentation, and communication standards. The introduction and enforcement of progressive disciplinary policies within brokerages further reinforce the importance of accountability. For commercial agents, this means that the margin for error is shrinking. You must not only understand the law, but also demonstrate compliance through proper documentation and consistent practices. This shift highlights the importance of integrating agency law into your daily workflow, rather than treating it as a separate or secondary consideration. Bringing it all together, Law in Action Agency Law is the structure that supports every commercial real estate transaction. It defines your role, your responsibilities, and your limits. As you move forward in this course, you will see how this legal framework connects directly to disclosure requirements, negotiation strategies, and compensation structures. The key takeaway is that knowledge of the law is not enough. You must apply it consistently in your practice. By understanding how statutes, rules, and case law work together, you can operate with confidence, protect your clients, and avoid the pitfalls that lead to complaints and disciplinary action. Online discussion. Why is ACR 4-28-1101 considered the foundation of agency law in Arizona? Answer. It establishes the duties licensees owe to clients, including protecting their interests, disclosing material facts, and acting with reasonable care, making it the core rule governing agent behavior. How does broker supervision impact agency compliance in commercial transactions? Answer. Broker supervision ensures that agents follow agency laws, complete proper documentation, and maintain compliance, reducing the risk of violations and disciplinary action. What role does case law play in understanding agency duties? Answer. Case law provides real-world interpretations of agency duties, showing how courts apply statutes and rules, which helps agents understand the consequences of failing to meet their obligations.